It's like the Anchorman. What was? I
Frank,
forgot what they did.
you're
Sorry.
ruining our intro. Stop
Okay,
talking.
sorry.
No,
Go.
no, no. Start talking.
He's been
Uh,
ruining our intro for 20 episodes
yeah.
now.
Actually, yeah, we're on the 20th episode and we still have no
The
music.
first.
21st episode, excuse me. No music. No, and now we're getting this. No music, no intro. So I guess that's just how it's going to be.
Of course not.
But
I'm
we're all,
working it. Okay, I'll deliver by the next one. I'll do that. Put that on my Saturday.
2025.
yeah,
No.
2025, the next 2025. And he'll put a caveat. I was traveling. I had too much eclair and too much champagne, and I was in Saint Tropez, and so a really tough life you've got there, Frank. Um, but no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think we're all now back in our sort of home area for whatever the time being is, and I wanted to think about the topics for us to discuss today as we were starting on this conversation. And one of them for me, and we talked about it a long time ago, Teddy, with relationships. That was what, number 4, number 8?
So number 6, yeah. Talk about
Number
relationships.
6, okay, somewhere between 4 and 8. And I wanted to go back to it a little bit because I've been away for 3 weeks from my wife, and it's interesting to now be back for a few days before I go back up to New York. And I want to get your guys' take on sort of like, you know, your partner relationships and how they, you know, appreciate or absolutely dislike the messy middle as well, and the support structure around that. And then I kind of feel bad that I've been gone for so long, and coming back into the mix is tough without having like a total answer to what's going on. So I think we talk a little bit about that. And then Frank wanted us to discuss the market and how crazy things are moving, where things are going, what we're thinking of, how does it decide on, you know, sort of messy middle decisions, who you meet with, what you pick to work on, and then we can cover a little bit of SPACs because there's some craziness in the SPAC world. So yeah, I think that could be a fun conversation, right?
Yeah.
No, can try. I think about the relationships, we briefly touched upon the kind of the lifelong partner and the support towards the end of that episode, but we mainly talked about friendships and other types of relationships. So I think it's a good kind of next couple minutes to spend talking about the lifelong partner. Yeah.
So for you guys, how do you deal with when you're away from your partner for a long time and then getting back into sort of the groove with them? It is, I guess I want to ask Frank, because you know you and Julia have been together for a while now. You were just in, you know, France, working on interesting next life events. How do you compartmentalize the things that you're working on, or when you're away from each other? Do you, you know, how do you manage that process? I don't know.
So I'm
Curious.
not sure which process you talk about, but I don't know. I guess I never really go away for a long time. Really, I mean, if I think about it, like in the past, the beginning of our relation was long distance, but after that, I think, you know, we just really don't leave each other for a long time. We do appreciate, you know, sometime when we take a break for like a week from each other.
Of
So,
course.
you know, either she's gonna go see family or friends and vice versa. But I don't know, there's not really any effort for me. It seems pretty natural. Like from day one, I mean, like she you know, she knew what I was doing or what was my process. And I think it's part of the first discussion we had in the relationship was, you know, if tomorrow we need to go somewhere and another time, you know, somewhere else, then, you know, is that cool? And she was totally cool with it. So right now we said Estonia. Estonia is not meant to be the place we stay forever, but, you know, we both agree on that. Next, you know, the US, Vietnam. So I don't really have any issue with that
Vietnam.
because that was really part of the reason we're together is because we had, you know, great alignment on mobility. which I think would be a lot more difficult, I guess, with kids, but also if you have a career or something like that. But we don't have kids for the moment, so I'll update when I have kids. But even then, I know myself, I'll just be focusing on how can the kid be happy, but how can we also travel? And so I don't know. Maybe it's disappointing, but I don't really have any issue. Like it's like zero stress about relation and entrepreneurship and travel.
Have you initially, like when you met Julia, have you talked about like your lifestyle, or that just came naturally? Yeah, both of you want to have this sort of lifestyle.
Oh no, it came very early, and I guess it's because of my previous relationship. I think I've tried different ways. I've tried to be with someone who was very career oriented. But I've learned very fast it doesn't work. Like it's like if you're an entrepreneur and someone in your relationship, is going to have a lot of constraint for work, then I don't know how to make it work. Maybe some people can, but I'm absolutely incapable of that.
I mean, yeah, I kind of agree, because Nastia, the model, and she's working on her new career, which will, be coaching and therapy and becoming a therapist, and that actually you can do that anywhere in theory. I was talking less about that. It was more of, because we also had the conversation at the beginning. She was traveling around the world, and it was long distance to start with, and she's cool about going anywhere as well. It's more of the feeling of that you're spending too much time on work, and you're spending too much time in the messy middle, and the relationship is definitely the relationship will definitely get through it, but it's how do you, I would say.
I just don't talk about it. I mean, honestly, she has no idea of stress or whatever unknown I'm facing. I've just come back and like, everything's okay, and don't. She knows I'm stressed. She knows I'm busy. She knows all of that. But to me, it's like, why would I come back home and and talk about more work and stress? So I'm just don't even talk about it.
Interesting. I'm completely opposite, because I used to be like that, not bringing work at like the I don't know, the general evening dinner, watching Netflix or whatever conversation and talk about work. But that did not work very well also in previous relationships. I think right now just having that sparring partner to talk about life, because I think you both need to be aligned in the kind of mutual goal. I have my personal goals, she has her own goals, but then they at some point sort of intersect, and we have to talk about these things, because my contribution towards this mutual goal and her contribution, they're different, but they're aligned because we're aiming for the same kind of thing. And I've been avoiding these conversations in the past, but the more I sort of try to open up and talk about issues, challenges at work, also good stuff as well, it's been really, really helpful. And then you can get the support from someone when you are kind of truly understood by the other person, I feel.
Yeah, I guess our goals don't intersect at all. Like she is super, laid back, and she's pushing her own business ideas. She does a bunch of things, but we can both operate from anywhere. And we both agree that if one day things go to shit and I need to work and she needs to work and do something, then we'll both do that. So, that's like backup plan. On my end, I understand, but Amanda, I have zero, there's no, whatever I do and whatever she does, that never intersect really.
Not in the sense that you gonna work on like an AI project and you want to sell a company, but more like a lifelong goal. We want to live in this place. We want to, I don't know, life goals. Totally. Yeah. So I think you have to be aligned with your partner, right? That's why you're partners, I guess.
No, you're right. We don't really know. I think we often, I like to talk about that because that's kind of a thing I think about often, which is we're all going to die. And so in that perspective, to me, the life goal is I know I'm going to die. We all know we're going to die. And so therefore it's like, you know what, if you want to go to Vietnam and work in the sun, let's do that. I'm also, I guess, very open to any suggestion. So if it's like, let's go somewhere where it's fun and nice, we'll go there. But then I'm also, it kind of needs to make sense for business. So it happens very naturally. But I guess maybe it's the case for a lot of entrepreneurs. Is it's not your average discussion. I guess the normal couple would be have this work that I've been doing for 10 years, and you have this job that you've been investing 10 years of your life, and you have a child, and you need to there's like a lot of roots and a lot of things you have to deal with, and I have none of that. I think the advantage.
Well, you do.
Is
I mean, you do
left,
have you do definitely have some of that. And so, I mean,
yeah, but I left
being in
France
Europe.
17 years ago, and I think once you leave to another country, once you left your friends, your family, and I've done that for a long time, I think at least I have this flexibility in me where I'm like I can start over from anywhere, and I'm used to it.
Right. But it gets harder as your relationship gets more serious and as you have kids. I mean, none of us have kids, so.
Yeah. No, I think the kid is definitely, but the good news is I'm French, and so I know there's a French school in pretty much everywhere in the world. So at least it's like a gym, I can go to one gym and another, but then of course the kid has to be happy and make friends. So, but my guess is kids now are going to be connected online anyway. It's not like your, physical connections definitely are not the only way of connecting people or friends. I mean, when I was a kid, like the only way I could keep in touch with someone was by sending a postcard. Yeah,
Or
like
phone call.
no,
make a call.
I was thinking as when I was a kid, and I made great friends in the US. Went to YMCA for like a couple of months, and awesome friends. But we lost touch because the only point of contact I had was some address in Texas, which I guess changed one day.
So
So
Frank,
now your
you
kids,
wanna
like to me, and to finish, I think it's important for children to be exposed to this kind of very mobile and international lifestyle, because I do believe it's going to be a future too. I can see kids having friends in China or friends in Europe and the US. I don't know, we'll see. But it's a challenge, I think, but I don't know, I would take it.
like you've never been in a situation where you work too much and then Julia is like, hey Frank, you're working too much, I need your time, I need your attention, or
Yeah,
I
sure.
need you
And
to do things.
then
And
we rent an Airbnb, do a little trip. Yeah, it's kind of how I
It
deal with it.
just sounds like the
well,
most perfect
that's
situation.
actually
But like,
that's a good
that's
thing.
what we're
That's
talking
how you
about.
deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you like try to like obviously this happens. So like I'm
Yeah.
trying to say like, look, I spent the last 3 weeks in New York. I haven't seen Nastya. I got home and I'm immediately working and immediately thinking about what need to do next. And I obviously have neglected our couple time, like, and she's okay with that, but I feel guilty about that. That's what I'm saying. So, and I know that that's kind of the sacrifices you need to make, but it does. I don't know. Maybe it's wrong for me to feel guilty about it because we've agreed that that's okay to do it.
I think this could be cultural differences. I don't know. Maybe it's more between Teddy can give some feedback, but to me, or maybe because I'm an asshole, I feel zero guilt. But she's very direct too, so we, I feel like we manage, but yeah, it's hard when I'm really stressed, and when I'm stressed, I'm just like it's better if I just I think the other thing that helps me is I have an office, so. So I I go to the office almost every day, and then when I come back home, it's like, hey, honey, I'm home. It's like it would be harder if I was working from home, I think.
That's another
Right.
good point. Yeah, the moment we started working from home, kind of the whole dynamic changed because you're spending this time almost like 24/7.
Non-stop.
You're together
Yeah.
in like two different rooms. Yeah, so it's like your colleague and then also your partner and then your friend, and this is like middle of COVID. That definitely changed the dynamic. But it's also equally important to like your Airbnb strategy, like take something, like take a week off or whatever, just like go stay somewhere, to
Honestly, it's very
refresh and-
spontaneous. It's like, you know what, like it's been a while. I'm just going to go. I'm in Estonia, so it's convenient. I just go and bolt and I rent a car. Like I can rent a car for 3 days when I go an Airbnb or a hotel, and like, within Friday night I can book everything, and then we leave Saturday morning, and that's it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
We do dinners. We go to Miami. We do trips. I just think this is my first time that I've gone through the messy middle being married. And it's definitely a different experience because when you go through the messy middle before, you sometimes could just be
But
like, hey, I don't need to participate in the relationship side of things.
but
So
again, I think the
like you,
thing that helped me is very early on we talked about the worst case scenario, and so to me you talked about Teddy, what's the common direction, but to me the most important thing is, do we all agree if everything goes to shit, we're okay with what's gonna happen. And I think now that I have that, and we're like, you know what, we'll eat pasta and we'll both look for whatever job we can get, and we're all cool with that. Then I'm like, okay, cool. Like we talked about the hardest
right.
thing, and one day I'll press a button, but it's if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, I think it's important to address things upfront and be clear on what the expectations are. And if you're in the zone, you gotta figure things out. It's your 3 weeks off, then you just go and do your thing, and then you go back and
Yeah, and I've got other friends who
that's
have
the
different
score.
deals. That I had a friend who was like, like my wife is working while I'm trying to figure out my messy middle, and the deal is, I do that for whatever 18 months. Every couple has different dynamics.
Excellent.
My dynamic again from day one is whatever I do, I go in a country where it's cheap, and
Yeah, that's always
like,
been yours. Go to a country that's cheap
and then
and
have less stress.
and
I would be a lot more stressed if I was in the US right now, I guess.
but we don't have an option to be outside of the US, so it's not an option at this point. And so
I know.
and I also think there's an opportunity, in meeting people and it's
I
just
agree.
different styles. Okay, so I think we beat this subject to death. Frank's relationship is just fucking perfect. And
It's not. I think what we do is we don't talk to each other. We just have like very separated road, and it's like we're we're fine. I don't annoy her. She does whatever she wants. She goes see her friend. She push her project. I push mine. It's fine. We're good.
Yeah, yeah, and you shouldn't be feeling guilty, Gabriel. I think that's also important.
Yeah, I guess.
Just talk about things, and it's
I'm just being honest. Yeah, no, and we talk about it. We talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's still you're kind of like
Come see us and hang out in Estonia or anywhere. It'll be fun.
sure. And so at some point, it would be fun. Maybe this summer or something. So what's going on in the markets? What do you want to talk about in markets and the world, Frank?
We're entrepreneurs. Like, who look at things. I'm obsessed with the future, and so I guess it's the same special skill you have when you're an investor or when you're an entrepreneur, which is to see the world as it's going to be. And right now, I'm very puzzled about what's going to happen. Like, I see very weird things. I see the stock exchange going up like crazy, especially on Nvidia. I see crypto going up like crazy. And then the weird thing is gold is also going up like crazy, which means people are very worried. So it's like the market is both very hopeful and very worried at the same time. Then I wake up and it's like there's like discussion about war. We live in a very tense time. Some people say, "Oh my God, it's a bubble." It's like the tulip. It's like 2000. Then you turn on another social media, and then it's going to be 5 years from now, it will be replaced by machines. And you go to another one, it's like crypto is a scam, and then you go to another one, it's like, governments are going to be fucked by crypto, and crypto is going to go to trillions of dollars, and it's like a lot of extremes happening at the same time, and I don't think I've ever seen something like that before. And 2000 was wild, but 2000 to me made no sense. Like from day one, I remember at that time I was like, how can microblogging like be worth anything? It's like, to my bad actually, Twitter I guess now is worth a lot of money, but still you had this thing of companies being valued crazy amount of money and making zero revenues. Now you have company being valued a lot but also making crazy amount of revenue. So I don't know. I'm just curious about, we talked a little bit about prediction at one of the episodes at the end of the year, and I'm just curious about what's your take on that, and also not to mention that AI is really really hard to follow. It's like I kind of I'm at the point where I think I'm gonna block like 3 days just to watch YouTube video nonstop, read a bunch of stuff and catch up, because I feel like I'm falling behind, but it just moves really really fast.
Yeah, with the AI thing, I feel like with the programming when I was starting, you would just learn one programming language and you know everything that you need to know about computers inside and out, hardware and software. But with like as time went by, there's backend, there's frontend, there's this technology, that technology. So at one point you just cannot follow software nor hardware. You just have to pick your own thing. And the same thing is happening with AI. There are a lot of things we call AI, and you can't just be expert in AI anymore. You have to pick your niche, and it's probably AI with something. So you're gonna be expert in AI. I know you don't like the word expert, but like knowledgeable in AI plus longevity or AI plus something else. Even that can go into like deeper directions. But I wonder, when you say the extremes, can we, maybe it's our mind trying to sort of try to predict some negativity in the market while everything seems to be okay. Can't we just be like, it's okay, things are going like back to normal and everything is working well, so for the next 10 years things will be amazing and there won't be any like crisis?
I don't know. I mean,
the
truth is I don't know. So you're more optimistic than I am, I guess.
Yeah. But like sorry, Gabriel, the thing when the crypto hype like 2-3 years ago, whatever, a lot of projects, no value, but then they were worth billions of dollars. And now, as you said, there's Nvidia, for example, they're generating crazy amounts of revenue and profits, and it's just like it makes sense for them to be valued that much. So I don't see the bad sign there.
It doesn't make sense because the multiplier is just insane. But again, it would make sense if robots are going to take over. I don't know. I just want to have a general discussion. I think you're right. Like, which is like, am I pessimistic or optimistic? And I think right now I would be pessimistic about the future, just because of war.
That's.
I think I would feel great if gold was low, because then it kind of makes sense. You know, the stock is going up, people are betting on the future. There's no war. You know, gold is just this thing that you use if you want. But the fact the market shows you that gold is going up at the same time, it means people are like, it can go bad very fast too. And so I like to think about backups, but anyway, I'm very curious. I'm like the only thing I'm bearish for is Europe right now. I think Europe is going to be pretty bearish. I'm pretty bullish on the US. I think the US will be fine. Europe, where I am, is not that great, so maybe it's time to move.
What?
But
what's
anyway,
the source? With the gold, I don't understand. What's your thinking behind the gold is going up? How's that?
It's a classic. Like, gold is always decorrelated from stocks, and the logic is
store value.
It's storage. But right now, because China is very likely building a secondary financial structure, like market, like like in parallel to the one that has been using worldwide. So basically challenging the dollar. Like these are like very big tectonic moves happening, and I kind of remember still the horror stories from 2000, where everybody was ecstatic, and from one day to another, you go from being a millionaire to look for a job as a cab driver. And so it's I don't know. But at the same time, for an entrepreneur, I'm like, no doubt it's going to be AI is in the future. Like, there's going to be more AI stuff. Is it a 5-year horizon? Is it a 10-year horizon? Like, no one really knows. But when I hear the CEO of Nvidia says he thinks 5 years from now it's going to be like pretty amazing, I'm like, holy shit! Like, that's a bold statement, and I trust him a lot more than Elon. I mean, I love Elon, but Elon's always overselling things. Anyway, it's a super super interesting time, but it's just crazy. So, and I met a friend of mine. Like, she's, I know she had some crypto, and I was like, you must be happy. And she's like, oh, 98% of my assets are in crypto. So you have, we have these populations of friends, like all in crypto, all in AI, all in gold. And I just want to talk about it and see where you are. So me, I would be a little bit on the pessimistic side and trying to plan for what's worst. Teddy is more optimistic, and Gabriel, I don't know.
Somewhere in the middle. I'm optimistic that we will, figure things out, but I'm pessimistic on the short term. I don't know what's going to happen in the elections in November, and I think that does matter.
Too. It's a big part of it. Yeah,
I think that matters a lot.
Any bet?
I have no bets. Some guy asked me at dinner. I went to I went to a drinks at the co-founder of Duolingo's house on Saturday night in New York, and one of the guys there asked me, was like, "So, do you have any bets of who's going to win?" And I'm like, "I don't. I'm not a betting man with these type of things. I bet with the career and entrepreneurship and specs." But like, you actually have no idea. These are the oldest candidates that have run. You know, we're going to have a decision today on the abortion pill.
Yeah,
But
whatever the bet. What prediction would you make if one wins or the other one wins?
well, I think if Biden wins, we will have a little bit more of a stability in the world and a little bit more of stability in sort of the status quo of things. If Trump wins, it will be both of these are short term, right? Neither of them are gonna go run again. I don't know. Maybe Trump might say, "Oh, I'll run again at 81 too, or 80." I think with Trump, it'll be a lot of what happened prior, but it'll be far more conservative. Business, in theory, will be better, but at the cost of things like a much tougher immigration system for talented folks, probably less of international trade, more even tougher on China. I could see three wars breaking out simultaneously, like
That's interesting.
Taiwan.
That's funny because to me, I would believe the opposite. Just to me, I would see Trump from an international perspective, from actually pulling out of any kind of conflict, just to focus on the economy.
But the economy's good. That's what I don't understand. The economy's good. So he's going to say, "I'm going to cut taxes," which is going to cause more debt, which is going to put us in a worse off position. And I focus on what within the economy? The stock market's all-time high, you just mentioned. Gold's all-time high. Bitcoin's all-time high. So, interest rates are going to be...
So, no, you're right.
My feeling is being an American and traveling abroad when Trump was president was not a good feeling. And being American when I traveled abroad when Obama was president was a great feeling. In certain places, maybe it wasn't. But I'm a liberal Democrat. And socially, I'm fiscally conservative, socially liberal. But it's you have to make a decision. Like, there's not a candidate on the Republican side that actually makes sense to me. There were a few, but now it's like Trump. And then you look at Trump's SPAC; it's all based on hot air. Like, it's trading at, I don't even know how many billions of dollars right now, but I think it was like $72 per share this morning on a company that has $3 million of revenue. So if you want to talk about a mismatch between the stock price and revenue, that's one of them. All of his fans. He's selling to his market. Who buys anything Trump? Who bought his whatever thousands of dollars of shoes? Who bought this? Who bought that? It's a rabid fan
I don't know.
base.
I mean, I guess I'm more of a leftist libertarian, which is kind of a weird thing. So I like the idea of a micro government. But to me, in both cases, like the federal is too heavy. But the truth is, I see good and bad things in both. Like, again, Trump, to me, internationally, I think, that he does Trump. So he goes back and he's like, hey, your commercial balance is that much. And so he renegotiates. But then the issue is when Trump is president, within the country, it's hell. And Biden, it's kind of the opposite. Like, it's like you have a lot of maybe more stability, even though you still have tensions in the like non-coastal states. But then I see more war, more tension international when the Democrats are in power, historically. Again, it's kind of weird. Like, I remember listening to Chomsky now saying good things about Nixon, which is really funny when you remember that time. So, but to me, the big issue we have now is we have a choice between two 80-year-old presidents who honestly could even not make it to the election. And I think to me that's the biggest symptom, which is like how did we get there? And I'm very worried.
We got there. we got there for many reasons, but we really got there because look at who's the majority voting. It's the baby boomer generation. So this is the last time that they're
They're
going to be
annoying
running.
everywhere. In France, it's the same in Germany. Like these
I
guys
mean-
really screwed us. Like it's like here's some debt, here's
Right. And they're
have a
also
good
living,
time.
and,
Take care, guys. Woo. Peace,
and they're
peace
living
off.
longer, right?
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
the other
yeah.
thing I think is interesting,
And we're living
is
less longer, right? It's like
Mm-hmm,
life
So what's
expectancy is
fascinating will be, so you're talking about markets, talking about future and everything else. The other fascinating thing is the largest transfer of wealth in
Oh, yeah,
the
you're
entire history is going to be from the baby boomers to the millennials or whatever. Maybe they'll skip it over to Gen Z if they had the kids later. But that's going to happen over the next 10 years. Like, unless they live till they're 150. But, you know, we haven't
Thanks
kind
to
of
Teddy.
figured that out yet. Yeah, thanks to Teddy. So, like, I'm optimistic, but I'm pessimistic from like picking like an idea, like looking at everything, like which sector do you do, which and
But
really
flip
what
it-
it comes down to.
flip it instead of talking about the idea. You know, it's like how can it be useful? Like, what do you think is needed? And so obviously,
Sure.
I mean, I see that with my dad, but we do definitely need to invest into infrastructure for when people are old and sick, because that's you know, before the transfer of wealth or anything like that, that's going to be a big issue. How do you deal with, you know, a lot of dementia, a lot of, you know, and all these things. Like we have a lot of debates in Europe, in France, around how to manage the end of life. I'm not sure how that would go in the US because of, I'm not sure actually that could be, I wonder if they could push that for
I mean, the U.S. in U.S. you've got Social Security, you've got Medicare. So,
yeah, but what
so
happened,
there-
you know, what happened when you want to pull the plug? Like is it state-based?
actually don't know, but I mean, you have an option to, if they're in a vegetative state, and you can pull the plug.
But yourself, let's say you're 80 years old, you have some terminal sickness.
It's just do not. You have a do not resuscitate, but no, you don't have like a euthanasia. You can't
Like
be
in
like
Switzerland or in
can't be like-
Belgium. Yeah.
no, that does not exist. So here, like it's assisted
So that's the debate
suicide.
we start to have in France, because people are getting older, and then you have this weird case that no one expected, right? Which is you know, where like you don't want to suffer as you get older. So anyway, it's like you're right. Like but even then, I mean, like Putin is not young, and all the conflict we have.
It's 42 states it's prohibited against, and it's legal under court ruling in I think Montana. Is that it? So yeah, Montana, and there's a couple of states where so it's illegal under ruling in like 42 states, and then it's legal in maybe 8 states.
But you're right. It's a big thing that's going to happen within our life too, which is a generational shift. Because at one point, like this generation who kind of loves to stay in power. I mean, we've seen the same people since the 80s. They just don't move. And they're going to move, and that's going to be super interesting. Like what's going to happen when a new generation
And
emerges.
it might not go to us. I mean, we're
No,
in
it's
our
fine.
30s.
I'm fine with that. But it's all I mean is these guys have been stuck there. Like they really don't want to leave room for anyone. They'll.
I mean, look at it. Look at Mitch McConnell's finally kind of like. I mean, he looks like a dead turtle, right? Like, and like you look at this. You look at like Nancy Pelosi. She like
Jesus.
how much plastic surgery did Nancy Pelosi have, right? And you're like, sure, so great, and like it's. They're not Supreme Court justices where like you can stay on there for life, right? These are voted in officials. But you're right, it's across the world. People bitch and complain, except for France, though. You've got a young, the young new gay president, right?
France is like Trudeau. It's like it's love hate. It's we don't have normal people. Trudeau was not normal. It's like the son of a prime minister. So it looks like Canada is some kind of kingdom now. And for France, our president used to date his teacher when he was 14 years old. Like, it's not these are not normal people.
In the UK, you've got Rishi Sunak, who is a billionaire, because his wife is a billionaire.
I think democracy are failing. I mean, that's part of a big motivation I have for electees, which is at one point, I think the people will have to self-organize and do their own elections. But I don't know. Like, so Yeah, it will happen, I guess. But yeah,
I mean,
it's
it
super.
depends on the scale. It depends on the scale because people self-organizing and doing their own elections without having some sort of
No,
I don't
exactly,
know,
exactly. What
whatever.
happened? What would happen, for
It doesn't
example, if you have
work.
no, I agree. But what would happen if you have 100 million people self-organizing and electing someone, by themselves? Like then it's kind of this nice conundrum. But that's not for now, so that's fine. It's a long-term thing.
Talk about that. We should talk about that at one point.
Long-term.
So,
Sure, we can talk about democracy. But the conclusion is we live in a very interesting time, and honestly, the only hope I see in all of that, and I go back to, I guess, the initial observation of the market, the only hope I see is AI. It's really the only thing I can see that can,
100%
in a way,
agree.
save us. Like, like we'll have AI government helping us to figure out the debt and whatever. Like that, it's really the only thing I see. Like, if like that's why like, maybe it's oversold, and it's not magically going to solve anything. Like, and we can talk about the technology itself because it's complicated, but I don't know.
but
There's a bunch of
I,
things I need to catch up. Like, again, it's moving really fast. I saw a paper 3 days ago I want to read, which seemed to say that there's a pattern into the emergence of properties from an AI. So that's interesting. I want to read it to see what's the pattern rules, because then at least it gives you a hope for prediction. But yeah,
so so look, I tend to agree here on this because it's like we're all looking at AI. I mean, even just before this call, I used AI to draft a formal letter to some sponsor for Tectalia, and I'm like, oh my god, like this makes it so much easier. And it's in, and of course I edit it for my words, so it sounds kind of like me. So I'm like, even me, who is like usually a late adopter to certain things like crypto. I had a wallet, but I never really used it that much. And everybody always said crypto is the next thing. I am looking forward to the future because crypto is going to solve everything. That was one thing. I remember crypto, blockchain, Web3. And I'm like, you could do without crypto entirely, and no one's going to miss it other than sort of a lot of the gangs and everything. But AI, that that is a real thing. So it's like you see it. Now the monetization of AI, I think, is where the challenges are today. If we're talking
That's
about
where crypto
markets and
comes
everything.
in.
Maybe.
why is
Maybe.
the monetization
So
of AI an
why?
issue?
I think the monetization of AI for startups is a big issue. That's what I'm saying. So it's not it's not
Why?
my, well,
Is
because
it
it
the
looks
cost?
like the cost right now, um, and I also think the distribution. So you look at Microsoft. They're able to they acquired the whole team from was it Inflection, right? And so um, and that could be an argument that their team just sucked. But they also raised 1.6 billion. So if you argue it from a cost perspective, it wasn't a cost prohibitive issue for them. It clearly was the idea that they were not making any money, and they were like, okay, do we just go join Microsoft where they have unlimited capital and things to work on, or do we continue to compete against somebody like OpenAI?
Yeah,
So, so I, so I, and this is somebody who's active. We're all actively looking at AI, and we're looking at it probably from like how cool it can be. But then if we actually think how we actually earn money from it, the ways I've seen all of my entrepreneurial friends or entrepreneurs make money on it is consulting right now. They're not actually making money from their products.
that's funny. I was
Um,
gonna say it's fundraising, but I
yeah.
see my friends.
Okay. Fundraising too. Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
like
Like we
these
raised
guys are like,
$100 million. Oh, wow, that's cool.
yeah, yeah. And they're like,
Yeah,
and I sold 5% of my stake just so I could get my 5 million bucks. Like, look,
yeah,
Ahmad just stepped down from Stability AI. I'm curious, how much did Ahmad take off the table in his $100 million round?
yeah, and that goes back to also my negative state of mind at the moment, which is the other thing I'm exploring, and I've been exploring. You guys know for a couple of weeks is defense. And defense and AI is also, an interesting cocktail that is meant to happen too. And so at the same time as AI could be a great help for government, it may also be our doom. And it's, I don't know, fun times. But
I just
for
want to be
anyone
able
who
to go to
listened
Saint
to us,
Tropez a few more
at least like,
times before we
yeah, no,
die.
no, Yeah, I mean, again, for anyone who listens to us, like the thing I would recommend, and that's at least what we're doing, is building things with it is the best way to learn, or reading or watching stuff. Like it moves very fast, but it both moves very fast and very slowly. It's kind of a paradox, which is you're gonna have like GPT-4 or 5, and it's gonna be amazing, and then a lot of the innovation is how can I run that locally, for a tenth of the size and things like that. So it's kind of interesting from a logistic perspective, but from a user perspective, you don't really give a shit about that. And so you can generate videos, but I'm sure it's going to cost you 200 euros to make one so far. And so it's like,
So you're going to lose money every time you generate a video for somebody because it's going to be more expensive to generate whatever a 10-minute video than it is for somebody to go record that video right now. But it will change. It'll be exponential. The change will be exponential when it happens.
That's the thing.
When it becomes
that's the thing
cheaper.
I don't understand, and that's why I want to dive, because everybody seems to say that we'll reach amazing level of AI in 5 years, and I don't see it. I don't understand how that's possible. Like all I see is a lot of challenges, like some gigantic things that you have to solve, which are difficult because no one knows how to solve them. Like it seems the right way to do it is to watch videos. But yeah, sorry.
Is it more challenging than the nuclear stuff?
Oh yeah, because the nuclear stuff was based on how do you call that, physics, and so you had models, you had theoretical,
physics.
you had theory.
Yeah.
You had, what I mean is you had theories that tells you it's possible. Here it's empirical, which means we don't have a theory to tell us what's possible. So it's not like we have a theory. It's not like we have a theory and we know what we need to do and we know what challenges we need to achieve. We have computing power, a lot of goodwill, and then we're like, let's throw terabytes of videos at this AI and put whatever trillions of parameters and then wait 6 months and see what happened. It honestly feels like that. And I think what's happening is these guys are doing that and they're like, holy shit, it works. So that's why everybody's excited. That would be my bet. They're like, oh wow, like the fucking computer now understands physics, and we didn't teach anything or just show a bunch of YouTube videos. That's the only way I can see why people are so confident. It must have these data points that we don't have.
Right. It's got to be like the early days pre-science, and people are figuring out like, how did we make fire? Oh my God, we just
Yeah, you're right. In that sense, it's close to the nuclear physics, because then you would be late 19th century, early 20th century, and people would just be like, I'm gonna put some electric current through, a void. I'm like, holy shit! Like it's like these things flying through really fast. What the fuck is that? And then that's when we discover the atom, and that it's made of particles, elementary particles like protons and electrons and so on. And then at one point, we still don't really understand what it is, and so it's funny. But we understand it enough that we can make a nuclear reactor, which means we understand a lot. Like people don't realize, like we say, we still don't know a lot about physics, and it's true. There's like a lot of open questions. I mean, the fact you can make, what is NVIDIA latest processor? Like something insane, like 50 billion transistors, whatever.
200 billion, some crazy number.
Yeah, whatever. It's like 10 transistors per humans. Like that fits into that, but it's that shows we understand a lot. But I like what he says. He says it's impossible today to make such advancement without AI. So we're already in that weird loop. It's like you make beautiful stones to make better stones. Like it's Stone Age, and now we're at the point where we don't even understand what we're doing anymore. It's just the AI does it for us already. So it's I don't know. It's just exciting. And
yet you're pessimistic about the future.
No, I'm talking about the stocks. I mean, it's like 2000. Well, is the internet the future? Yes. 30 years from now, 20 years from now. Now, if you make that bet, would you buy tons of Webvan stocks, in 1999 and be like, oh, Webvan's the future. Everybody will have delivered food from internet. The answer was yes, but the wrong answer was Webvan.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
that's all I'm talking
there's
about.
like 50 of those, right?
I was talking about the market, not the But anyway,
Yeah, you don't know who to bet on. You could have bet on Stability AI, which I think looking at Stability AI from the beginning kind of was a mismanagement. And you kind of
I
knew like
usually
where
don't
it was
invest in.
heading.
I don't like big egos. Usually, I stay away from that. But Elon is kind of special.
Well, no, what about Sam Altman? You don't think he has a big ego?
He has a huge ego, but is OpenAI publicly traded?
No, but neither is Stability AI. I'm just
So
saying. Well,
true,
yeah,
true.
but you could
Okay.
have gotten to any of those SPVs. There are a lot of people that had SPVs.
Do you guys buy some
So,
Reddit?
uh, pre-IPO,
Oh, you son of a
but it's
bitch.
locked up. Yeah, but it's locked up. Doesn't matter. It's locked
Okay,
up.
nice.
So who
Still,
knows where? Based on your pessimistic attitude, it could go to zero.
oh no, Reddit will
No,
not let that happen.
no.
Reddit would buy itself.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's
But
They'll
it'd
GameStop
be
it.
interesting to see what it'll be interesting to see where the stock trades in a year. Um, I don't have a prediction on it. Okay, quote time. I have a quote.
go ahead.
Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope. Helen Keller, who was, deaf, dumb, and blind.
Beautiful.
I didn't know Elaine
Yeah.
Keller. I feel bad.
You didn't know her, or you don't know of Helen Keller?
Both.
Really? Like
Do you,
before
Teddy? Do you
I
know it?
just
Teddy is googling.
Yeah.
It's for your international audience. We didn't, I didn't know. I'm
Really?
sorry.
Yeah, she was deaf and blind. She was deaf and blind.
Is that what she's
So,
well known for? Is that her big achievement?
well, she set up, I mean, what was amazing is that she actually fought for the rights of individuals with disabilities and women's suffrage and sort of labor rights. And
Oh,
she
she was a
had, I
suffragette.
mean, she created a school also as well for children, and for women
Oh, that's amazing.
but also
I'm not going
yeah,
to give
it's
you shit about it,
incredible.
but you should not define her as as blind and deaf.
No, but
She's
that's her most famous thing is that
uh,
prior to Helen Keller, there was not a major support for people who
blind.
had disabilities. Well, I mean, she was deaf and blind, right? So, and she also was like the first woman who was deaf and blind, and the first person to be deaf and blind to attend Harvard, right? Like, and
Wow.
graduated from Harvard.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
she's like
No, thank you.
extremely talented.
I just
You
didn't
learn about
know
it
her.
when
So.
you're in school. Yeah, well, you learn about it
Okay,
in
okay.
school, but you think like, can you imagine being deaf and blind and growing up in the 1880s and 1890s and 1900s and like, not having access to any of our stuff. So it's incredible what she was able to do.
It's hard to imagine.
And
I
I'm
couldn't imagine it.
just be
It's,
careful. Just be careful. They'll have like some expose on her, like Huberman.
No, it's fine. I was reflecting on the things that our ancestors were exposed to that were not, and like famine. We never went through that. And
No.
I bet you 100 years from now, like to be blind and deaf is just going to be some brain implants and problem solved.
Yeah. Although we've gone through a
Like-
pandemic, so our
Yeah,
my
but
ancestors.
it wasn't the Black Plague. We didn't have like children dying like in the street or something like that. It
Not
was
in America.
anywhere. It's like the compared to I forgot which one was the big one. If it was like the 5th century or 7th century, it was like some stuff insane that wiped like 20% of the population. We
I know,
we,
but
we
I
did
think
have
COVID
we did have
was
like
pretty
vaccine
bad.
very fast.
I
We
mean,
did have vaccine very
I'm
fast.
not.
And so,
I was not comparing the Black Plague to COVID. I was comparing it
no, I know.
to recent generations. I mean, like
No,
it
but
was
the
probably
COVID itself to me was a great use of COVID was the accelerated path towards RNA vaccine, and I just saw, I think was it yesterday that we started to cure like for the first time a sickness using CRISPR, and there's going to be like thousands to go, like cancer and things like that. So
Yeah.
the bad side of COVID was this mess and this economic impact that I think we still live in. But the good side of it will be like it just blew
And isolation.
all the legal limits to push stuff, and that unleash. I think we won 10 years of research with that.
Yeah, it wasn't the science that failed, but the people. People were like, we failed because of the people, the mentality of people during COVID.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But anyway, like really awesome to have
Another
advanced
conversation,
and
another
CRISPR.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about health and technology.
See you guys next week.
It's a cool subject. See you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.